Den här björken planterades i arboretet i Rottneros park 1978. Det var Gordon Zetterberg som var borgmästare i Kingsburg i Kalifornien som höll i spaden. Björken representerar vänortsförbindelsen som då hade etablerats mellan Kingsburg och Sunne. I Memorial Park i Kingsburg finns den här fontänen med vattnet strömmande ur 3 kronor. Den invigdes 1988 av Sunnes dåvarande kommunalråd Carl Johan Adolfsson.
Ja, jag träffade ju Gordon Zetterberg 1988. Han var ju borgmästare i Kingsburg då och var här i Sunne när vänortsutbytet etablerades. Och det var väl i samband med det och som den här björken var planterad. Dels så var han med på ett kommunstyrelsesammanträde och berättade om Kingsburg, och han fick också äran att klubba ett kommunalt beslut i Sunne, och jag vet inte om det är lagligt, men det var ju ingen som överklagade så det vann ju laga kraft i alla fall. 1988 när nya Sverigejubileet skulle vara då ville de ha en officiell representant från Sunne kommun som kom dit och var med på invigningen av fontänen 3 kronor. Så att då fick jag stå på podiet där och dels lämna en hälsning från Sverige och när svenska nationalsången spelades stod jag där som svensk representant på podiet. Så detta var ju de åren när Gunde Svan var som duktigast och vann medaljer, så jag kände mig som Gunde Svan när de spelade nationalsången. Det var ju en gruppresa ifrån Sunne ordnad samtidigt som kyrkoherden Sven Toremark organiserade, och tror det var ett 40-tal Sunnebor som var med. Eller värmlänningar ska jag säga, för det var inte bara Sunnebor.
Kingsburg är en av de amerikanska småstäder som värnar allra mest om sin svenska historia. I centrum pryds byggnaderna av svenska landskapsvapen, dalahästar och blågula skyltar som hälsar välkommen. Vattentornet har formen av en svensk kaffepanna och på stadshuset vajar alltid den svenska flaggan. Enligt en lokal förordning måste alla kommersiella byggnader påminna om Kingsburgs svenska rötter, antingen genom arkitektoniska uttryck eller genom utsmyckning. Den här banken har valt att låta en moraklocka ge sin fasad svensk prägel.
We've done that and purposely gone ahead and kept the Swedish theme, which is in the downtown area. You'll notice that it's much more strongly carried out than it is near the freeway. And the reason we've done this is to identify ourselves, because there is such a strong positive perception of what the Swedish image is in California. And because of that strong positive image, we want to go ahead and make sure we can reinforce that, and that we can go ahead and benefit from that branding. The Swedish history is very important. It gives us a form of heritage. It acts as a framework to establish a code of conduct, a type of attitude and expected way that you live your life. And it's really the image that a lot of people have about Scandinavian countries, and especially Sweden, is that we're very clean, very industrious, very hardworking. And a lot of that comes because of the fact that when Kingsburg area was settled, which was just over 100 years ago, that's when the town was incorporated, within about a 3-mile radius of the city limits, 95% of the people were Swedish, direct Swedish. And the way the town is laid out, the way the city streets are wider, are, for lack of a better term, more organized. That whole image is, and it may not be a totally accurate perception of what Scandinavia is like, but it is the Americanized image of what we like to think that the Scandinavian town should be. And people in Kingsburg are somewhat funny because most of the people in Kingsburg are not Swedish anymore. And it has changed radically. But people still want to have that image, and they still want to hold that mental image.
Mr. Andrew Eriksson was responsible for bringing into Kingsburg the first Swedes in 1886. And he had come from Ishpeming, Michigan, and he was sent out here to find a warmer climate for a group of Swedes back there in Ishpeming. And he had met a man up in the northern part of California, and that man persuaded him to come and look at Kingsburg. And he liked what he saw, and he was able to bring in several people at that first time, and the Swedish population has grown ever since.
De allra flesta som slog sig ner i trakten var jordbrukare. Och det de odlade var vindruvor som torkades för att bli russin. Milsvida odlingar vid foten av Sierra Nevada etablerades av de svenska bosättarna för mer än 100 år sedan. Och än idag är det en viktig näring i regionen. Fortfarande drivs också många odlingar av ättlingar till de första svenskarna i området. I Kingsburg ligger Sun-Made Raisins som är världens största leverantör av russin. Företaget har en fjärdedel av världsmarknaden och säljer mer än 100 000 ton årligen i 80 länder runt om i världen.
My grandfather, who came from Dalarna, and some of the other farmers got together and formed a cooperative so that they could kind of market their raisins together. And then I think it became, and I can't remember what the name of it was. And then it kind of faded away, and then Sun-Made kind of came into the picture. So it kind of became Sun-Made after that. And I know my grandfather was a member. It's a cooperative, so it was owned by the farmers. This was, before the Swedes came, a rough and tough town between San Francisco and Los Angeles. Swedes came, cleaned up the town. And at the turn of the century, it was almost, like around 1900, it was almost 100% Swedish. And so all the early settlers most of them were Swedish. And back in the 60s, a lot of towns were kind of dying, and our city fathers in this town decided we need to really preserve our heritage here and make our town look more Swedish and do Swedish activities, partly as a marketing tool and partly because that's who we are. So that's what a lot of things really started, and we feel it's important to keep in touch with our heritage and culture, and so we do everything we can to promote that. Some of the older people that really had kept it going previously have died, so I feel kind of responsible to keep it going. I usually help quite a bit in most of the Swedish celebrations and do quite a lot with that. And some years ago, I started promoting for people to wear Swedish costumes. A few people have the real thing from Sweden, and when we can't have that, then we have something that looks similar, made from American fabric. And we celebrate Santa Lucia Day here too. And we started a little tradition of going through the restaurants with a Santa Lucia pageantry on the morning of our celebration.
Den tredje torsdagen i maj bildas det kö på Draper Street i Kingsburg. Som upptakt till Swedish Festival, som äger rum de följande dagarna, förvandlas gatan till restaurang med en svensk torsdagsklassiker på menyn, ärtsoppa och pannkaka. Flera hundra portioner lagas till och äts under ett par timmar.
Are you filming now? I'm gonna mess this first one up. Oh, I'll be a son of a gun.
Okay.
That one. You're getting two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to? It's either you or me. You got younger legs than I do.
På fredagskvällen blir det mer svenskt. Ett smörgåsbord dukas upp på brandstationen och äts vid långbord i Coffee Pot Park. Men det är inte alla som gillar det som serveras.
I'm not such a big fan of pea soup. I'm also not a very big fan of pickled herring. But I don't mind lutefisk, which is a lot of people, I guess, have a problem with that. But I don't mind that at all. And food is fun and food is nice. But the best thing about Swedish Festival is the time to just enjoy the relaxation of being in a small town and just enjoy people that you haven't seen in a while. You get a chance to stop and talk, and it brings people back to town that have grown up here or have lived here but have had to move away for either business reasons or family reasons or whatever. But everybody comes back, and it gives people a chance to get together and reestablish and make contacts again. And that's really what Swedish Festival is about.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise as the colors of our great nation, United States of America, are presented by members of the Kingsburg Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 6152 Color Guard. We honor America with the colors of the United States. Kingsburg High School Marching Band and Color Guard. Represented here by the good board of directors and members of Carnegie Hall. Born and raised in Kingsburg. 4 children. Kingsburg, former teacher, Kingsburg High School, white man, grandchildren. Now here comes the familiar faces, John Austin, this year. Honored earlier this year by the Kingsburg Chamber of Commerce.
June Olsson Hess arbetar med det svenska kulturarvet varje dag. Hon driver Svensk butik, en presentbutik som är fylld med produkter från Sverige.
Well, I've had the store for 25 years and it's grown from a little tiny store to a bigger one. And I've always loved Swedish products, and because they're known for quality, other people even that are not Swedes like what we have. And what I sell in my store are things that people can't get in just regular stores like department stores. And when they want something unique, they come here. I have regulars that come from as far away as Los Angeles and the Bay Area. A lot of people actually are glad that there is a Swedish store with real authentic Swedish items in it. Because when people come to a Swedish town, like we advertise ourselves as, they expect to see this.
Tvärs över gatan från Svensk butik ligger Stockholm Café and Bakery. Här bakas det kakor och wienerbröd efter svenska recept, och här lagar man svenska köttbullar, och det går till och med att beställa en kopp svenskt kaffe.
My husband and I were thinking about several years ago that in Central California, maybe in all of California, there needs to be some kind of a Swedish center to preserve the culture that was unique to the Swedes who came to the Western California. I think they have several cultural centers throughout the United States, but the experience that the Swedes had in California was probably different than everybody else's. So, and it was a particular point of time that is gone forever. The books that were written, were published, the experiences that the Swedes had coming to the desert here and trying to make it into a farming community, living so far away from home, it was so hot, and starting their own churches and their own clubs. It was very hard. My family, my great-grandfather, great-grandparents both came to Kingsburg, but I think that I moved away and came back. But I've always thought that Kingsburg is a very special place for the Swedish culture, and to demonstrate the Swedish culture through the food, through the music. So Kingsburg, I think, plays an important role in the Swedish American culture and the heritage that we have here. It's not quite Swedish, it's not quite American, and I didn't realize what Swedish culture I had until I went away to college, and then I got married, and people thought it was strange what I did at Christmas or the traditions that I had. I used to go across the street and talk to the lady at the Svensk boutique, June, and so many people came by and said, "Where's the bakery? And where's the Swedish meatballs? And where's the food?" And I guess you really can't just talk about the culture. The culture isn't just food, but it has a very important part. It carries, the culture carries with the food. So we decided to make a bakery and a cafe instead, and sell some of the Swedish goods and fine foods that are imported from Sweden. And a lot of people come off the freeway or from the town, and they know exactly what they want. They want the knickerbröd, the cracker bread, the lingonberry jam, which we used to sell in a lot of the grocery stores around here, the sill, the pickled herring, but they don't anymore. So we try to keep it here. And then people come here and they're just very curious and very wide-eyed about Swedish things, and they want to know about everything that's Swedish. And we just have a little cafe here. It's easy to start a restaurant. It's very hard to start a culture center.